Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. And we have Sandy Robertson here with us. And we are talking about why am I eating this? We are going to help you to give up dieting forever. You're going to change your relationship with food for good. And we're going to learn how to nourish ourselves with food. We're going to figure out when I'm emotionally eating. We're going to use self-talk, positive self-talk to get rid of that emotional eating. We're going to know how to stop eating, which a lot of us can do a great job of starting, but we also need to learn how to stop. So I'm excited that you're here with us. Sandy, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Chantel. Thanks for having me today.
So one of the things that I love about intermittent fasting is that it really helps you to know when to start eating, because it's kind of like, okay, I'm going to eat in a certain window, but doing intermittent fasting, what I tell people is to do intermittent fasting, but also to add in a component of waiting until your stomach growls, because then you know that you are no longer heart hungry, that you're stomach hungry, and you're actually physically ready to eat. But I think one of the things that people have a really hard time with is knowing when to stop eating. So let's start by talking about that.
I think for everyone it's different, Chantel. Some people do it by counting calories and perhaps have an allotment or approximate allotment for each time of day, especially when they're intermittent fasting. The thing is, it takes 20 minutes, as I'm sure you and many of your listeners know, for the message to reach the brain from the stomach that you're full. So one secret, by practicing mindful eating and really eating slowly and allowing your meal to last 20 minutes, even if it's a shake, if you put fruit or have it on the thicker side, perhaps eat it with a spoon, perhaps you're drinking water or another beverage with it, you can slow down the process. So I'd say, tip number one is slowing down your eating process and really having your meals be about nourishment in all ways and not just, throwing something down in 5 minutes. And so you can then pay attention to when that message is reaching your brain and your body is truly getting full. So physically you're full and perhaps you're craving more food, but it's not about the physical need. It might be psychological or craving or emotional.
So talk a little bit about why people have such a hard time. I will tell you, I feel like my number one problem, I mean, if you said, because I feel like I really eat for nourishment. I do so many things well when it comes to my eating. And if you said, what is the worst part of your eating? It would be me slowing down. I'm not joking. I don't know what it is. And, I talk fast, I walk fast, I do a lot of things fast. And something doesn't click. It has to be like, before I eat, I have to do self-talk of I'm going to slow down. I have to put a timer on my phone. I have to do all these things. So let's just pretend you are talking with someone and you're saying, okay, here's what you need to do before you put a bite of food in your mouth for you to be able to get yourself to slow down. What would those tips be?
Tip number one, Chantel, would be rethink the eating experience. Now and then we're in a rush, and I'll say now and then, and we have to eat fast. But for the most part, when we can look at the eating experience as a ritual of nourishment, right there, it involves pausing, perhaps being grateful for the food we're about to eat, also including a lot of fiber, fruit and salads and different things that require you to chew. And that pausing, because it really is a ritual of nourishing your body. So adding in steps of mindful eating, pausing, being appreciative or grateful. You don't have to say a formal grace, to be appreciative or grateful. And focusing on chewing. If you're using utensils, putting the utensils down in between bites. Again, rethinking this this eating experience, that it's not just about throwing down food for fuel. Now, if we're on the go in the car eating a protein bar, we might eat that faster, but still, we can slow it down by chewing, maybe saving half for a little later, eating it in segments, and just that mind piece, the mental piece of I'm nourishing my body can help slow down the whole process. And I'll keep saying chewing all through this interview because that really helps to slow it down.
So one of the things that I love that you just said is that even if you are having a smoothie, you want to try to eat it in 20 or 25 minutes. And so I love that because I know for me, I could have a smoothie and it could be gone in 3 minutes or less because of what we've already talking about. But talk about what could you do? Like really describe that. So I have a
Yes.
smoothie right now. How am I going to make that last for 20 minutes or more?
So some examples, what I do, I add some chia seeds, some flax seed, sometimes a couple tablespoons of oatmeal. Now, if people are gluten-free, of course, they have to pay attention to that. I'm saying generally speaking, to add some seeds or ground nuts and measure it, a few tablespoons. And as I said, chunkier fruit and eat it with a spoon. When possible, I try to at least part of my smoothie have a spoon in it and, make it thicker, as I just said, with seeds and flaxseed and maybe some oatmeal and some fruit so that it's not, your brain doesn't perceive it as a drink to drink really quickly. So
Yeah.
adding fiber, I guess is the message, any way you can with the combinations of seeds and different things and meals and some fruit to make it chunkier. Or vegetables. Some people put vegetables in their smoothie. I don't want to leave that out, depending on what you put in it. Have it on the thicker side.
I love that. And I think that people don't realize that chewing food is a really important part of the digestive process. And it helps to contribute feelings of fullness just in general, just that idea of chewing. So you talking about making that smoothie and being able to chew it is really important. And I think that sometimes people who drink their foods, they don't have that same satiety feeling as if they're chewing a solid food. So I think that, your brain, especially because like you said, drinking a smoothie, you're going to do it quickly and you don't have that fullness feeling because you're not chewing. So I think those are really, really good tips that you just gave. Let's talk a little bit about emotional eating. And I think this is a real problem that people have. What are some things and some self-talk that you can do to help you to, when you're having a bout with emotional eating, what are some things that can trigger you to realize? Because I think what happens is you don't realize that you are emotionally eating until it's done and now it's too late. So it's almost like you have to figure out, okay, how do I catch myself before it's too late?
So it's a great question, Chantel. I'll say overall, and this is a theme of my book, of paying attention. So it's a combination of steps and tools that are really the whole book, but I'll condense it. I mean, timing is one thing. If you've finished a meal 30 or 60 minutes ago, you couldn't be physically hungry if you're feeling like you want to eat. It might be nervous energy or anxiety or something else, an emotion, and that's okay, but label it that. So being able to label our emotions. So asking again, the first neutral question, does my body need fuel right now? If it's in between meals, the same question, does my body really need fuel? If you're heading for the snack closet just because, a little tip such as stop, take a breath, pause, and ask yourself, am I really physically hungry? And then you might say, honestly, no, I just want a snack. Okay, the next step might be, okay, what snack, if that's the only, I really want a snack, what snack might be the best fuel for me right now? So some almonds, some walnuts, maybe some popcorn. That's if you're just bound and determined you want a snack. However, if you can go outside for a minute or two, even if you're at work or wherever you are, just go outside, look up at the sky, take a breath, look at some flowers, and, tune in and ask, what's really going on right now? Am I hungry, angry, lonely, tired? Am I dehydrated? Would it be helpful to pick up the phone and call a friend or take a little walk, drink some water, have some tea? Did I get enough sleep last night? Maybe a nap right now would be good. So just tuning into your overall mind, body, spirit, and energetic nourishment. Perhaps you need to clear your energy system. You've been in a toxic environment or around some toxic people, perhaps. So asking all these questions can help to pause and slow down that process of just automatically turning to the refrigerator or the snack closet. And as I said, it might be that in the end, you say, I really want a snack right now. That time of questioning and perhaps going outside, getting some fresh air can help you make a wiser choice if it turns out that you think food is the only answer. But again, some of those questions in a neutral way, like you would ask a friend, am I hungry, angry, lonely, tired? Is there another way I could support and nourish myself right now?
I don't know about you guys, but I am stressed. And if you're feeling overwhelmed this holiday season, then I get it. With all the family get togethers, it is just a relentless source of stress. But anyway, there is something that I've got called Stress Guardian, and it's actually made by Bioptimizers, the people who make the magnesium breakthrough, which I love, love, love. But anyway, they are literally made this new product. It has 14 adaptogenic herbs and it just regulates your stress. I just actually took some right this second and it's awesome. If you go to stressguardian.com/wasteaway and put in waste away for 10% off your first order, it's stressguardian.com/wasteaway. Go there now. I love that. And just asking yourself the question, am I hungry or do I just want to eat? Because there's no, right? Like, am I hungry or do I just want to eat? Because there's no food that is a good choice when your body doesn't need fuel. So if you don't need fuel, there is absolutely no food that is a good choice. And if you eat when you're not truly hungry or your body doesn't need fuel, you're giving your body extra, regardless if that comes from brownies, chips, or carrots. So what happens is people go, well, I'm stressed, but I'm going to eat carrots. But here's what happens. It's extra fuel. It's stored. It doesn't matter if it's carrots or celery or whatever it is. It's training your body that because you're bored, because you're stressed, because of this, I am going to eat carrots. And that is what I have to really remind people all the time, is that the extra fuel is stored no matter what it is, no matter where that fuel came from, and your body doesn't need it and it's causing damage. Do you agree?
I do agree. And it's funny that you talk about celery and carrots. Sometimes I do eat celery and carrots if I really have that urge to chew. I try not to focus too much on carrots because of the sugar, but I found, a few mixed in with popcorn, for example, little carrot pieces, again, require me to chew more. And cutting up celery, there's something about, for many people, that just wanting to chew. And so mixing in, if I, bound and determined, that's what, for that moment is my solution now and then. Popcorn, for example, with some celery sticks, you're combining it. But many times, the example I gave before, going outside, looking at the flowers, looking up at the sky, perhaps drinking some water, like, you know what? I'm okay. Or something like journaling, if you're upset, taking a few minutes to write out your feelings. Mm-hmm. And that is training you, once again, that there are ways to self-soothe that don't involve food. Because for so many of us, I'll say I am one, from childhood, the solution for me to self-soothe that I learned from watching parents, my grandmother lived with us, when you're upset, eat. And when you learn that from childhood, and if there's trauma mixed into just any emotional upset in the house, that's a powerful link. Food equals self-soothing. To break that link takes many deliberate rituals, discussions with practitioners, mental health experts, depending on the severity of that link, to remind ourselves that we can break that link, that there are other ways to comfort and self-soothe, including mindful self-compassion, for example, loving kindness meditations, may I be safe, may I be at ease, may I know the beauty of my own true nature. Doing that for 5 minutes and grounding, for example, outside, paying attention to the sky, your link to the universe and spirituality, whatever that is, without letting go. That was 15 seconds. It resets your whole mind, body, spirit, and energy system. So I think the link is learning alternate ways to self-soothe.
What if someone is or is struggling with knowing when they're truly hungry? So like if they, are like, well, I kind of feel hungry. I'm not sure if I am. Would they ask some questions like, okay, what did I last eat? When did I last eat? Does it make sense for my body to need more fuel right now? What would you say to someone if they're like, they truly want to wait when they're physically hungry? What are some things that they'll know when it is time for them to be physically hungry?
That's a great question. You gave some great examples in the beginning, Chantel, of is your stomach growling? Some people can feel their blood sugar dropping. They start feeling perhaps a little lightheaded, a little dizzy. I'm not saying, a severe insulin reaction, but sometimes, as you know from your work with people's insulin levels or insulin resistance is not quite balanced, they may need some support. That might be time to get their labs checked with a doctor. But generally speaking, for the general population, your stomach growling, perhaps feeling like your blood sugar might be dropping a little. Some people start, shaking just a bit. Again, not, full-blown low blood sugar. And asking the questions that you described. When was the last time I ate? If it's more than 3 hours ago, it might be that you're someone who needs to eat more small, frequent meals throughout the day. So back to everyone's different. Everyone's body is different body chemistry, especially as we get older. So someone might say, oh, I'm used to eating 2 meals a day, but then as they get older, they may realize they may need to eat 4 small meals a day and perhaps a couple healthy snacks. And tuning into those physical symptoms are very important. If it's a pattern that they feel they can't get a hold of themselves, that might be when it's time to get their labs checked and hormones checked by a doctor to just get things in balance.
I disagree that anyone needs to have multiple meals a day and snacks. I'm very anti having multiple meals and snacks because I feel like that is just, again, it's too many times that you're having to start and stop. And if you have a problem with eating, that every time you're like learning to start and learning to stop, it's just an additional thing. But I think that also really just saying, when in doubt, wait it out, right? So it's like, if I'm in doubt that I'm hungry, let me go for a walk. Let me go do something else and wait it out to see if my stomach growls, or then I know, hey, I definitely am hungry. And looking at the hunger scale, like in my book, I have a scale of 1 to 5 and just rating myself of, hey, where am I right now? And deciding where I want to eat, because I put in my book, I have a 0, 1, and 2. All of those are hungry. Like you don't always have to get down to a 0 or a -1 to eat. You could eat when you're a 1 or a 2. But I'm never going to be eating food when I'm a 3 or a 4 kind of thing is one of the things I think, because I think what happens is every time you are like using carrots or popcorn or using something like that when I'm not physically hungry, it's still a problem because I'm still running to food for comfort. And that's one of the things that I think is really important to get rid of. Let's talk about asking the question, like, will this nourish my body and my soul? So, like, what are some things that, tricks up your sleeve that you have for that you could say, okay, here's kind of how I rate things. If I'm going to say, okay, is this going to nourish me, or is this just I'm going to eat this and be, falling asleep at the second I eat it, or, feel like I'm just so exhausted.
Back to it's different for everyone. A lot of people in this country now try to stay away from gluten. However, I know people who try to stay away from it, but when they go out to restaurants, they want to enjoy food. So I use restaurants as an example of first trying to pick restaurants that you feel have healthier choices. But if you want to splurge a little, even then at the restaurant, asking yourself, how am I going to feel if I eat this? And whether it's chips on the table or bread, and if generally you stay away from it, but you really, you'll be okay if you have a little, focusing on what can I do to mindfully eat this and enjoy it, but not, say, from past habits, devour, all of it. So really about eating in moderation and small amounts, and encouraging people to have salad and vegetables, and planning strategically what they're eating, back to food as nourishment and fuel, and asking those questions in a fun way. Also, how will I feel if I eat this? I think for a lot of people, just asking that simple question, being really honest. No one's judging you. It's not about blame or judgment. Just, how am I going to physically feel? How am I going to feel tomorrow morning if I eat this?
Guys, I just want to interrupt for just a second, and I want you to hear Paul Saladino talk about why liver is so important. And if you don't like liver, we have another option for you.
Your ancestors were eating liver. And the reason that this sort of wisdom has been passed down is because liver is very nutritious. It's basically nature's multivitamin. If you look at the nutrients in meat, they're great. You've got zinc, you got B6, you got B12, you got some K2. But if you look at liver, it really complements what's in muscle meat. And there are many unique nutrients found in organs, specifically liver as a powerhouse of these, that are difficult to obtain outside of liver. Like meat and organs are like peanut butter and jelly. They just go together. They're supposed to be eaten together. The easiest way to eat liver is just to do it raw. If you don't want to eat liver raw, you can cook it. But the reason that I like to do it raw is because there are unique nutrients in liver that are probably somewhat degraded when you cook the liver.
This really is like the most nutrient-rich supplements that you can find, and they are amazing. I have tried them. I absolutely love them. So just go to heartandsoil.co, use the coupon code Chantel Ray, and save you some money there. Oh my gosh, that is, I agree 100%. That question, my husband, all of a sudden, he's actually lost about 20 pounds recently. And one of the things he says that he's incorporated is just what you just said. He literally will say, I'll say, do you want, let's say we were somewhere and I'd be like, do you want this? And he'd say, no, if I ate that, I'm going to literally be so tired, I'm going to go to bed. Or if I ate that, I'm going to feel miserable and I'm not going to be happy, or whatever it is. And he literally said, he's like, I've just learned my body and know if I eat X, I'm going to feel this way, and I'm going to choose to not feel that way because I want to be on the top of my game. So I think that is so good. Well, this time went by so fast. And this has been amazing. Tell listeners where they can find you, where they can follow you, and where they can get your new book at.
Oh, thank you. My website is www.energyworkswisdom.com. That's energyworkswisdom.com. I'm a medical intuitive. I do personalized sessions with people, also do energy healing. They can buy my book, Why Am I Eating This? Is This the Nourishment I Need, on Amazon. And for your listeners, I'm happy to offer a 20-minute complimentary phone call to check in to see if there are ways I can support them in their eating in nourishing ways journey. So I'd love to hear from your listeners. And thank you for this great opportunity. It's a great discussion today, Chantel. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Sandy. And I have to tell you something about your voice. Like, you just have this like calming energy about you where you're just so calming. And like, I could, like, for example, I was thinking, if I was sitting down and eating lunch with Sandy, I would probably just be eating slower and just eating calmer just because you have like this calming energy about you. That's so wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you. I try to impart what I talk about. So thank you very much.
You do. And you guys, stay tuned. We've got another episode coming up in just a few. Bye-bye for now.